Hey y'all, I just wanted to come down here and do a quick video on following up on something that I already discussed with you guys about this timeline shift. I think it might have been the last Soul Food Sundays. I'm not entirely sure. But whatever the case, I was talking about there being a timeline shift and how obvious it is, and how like there's been a rapture, and a lot of people have been left behind because of the level of consciousness that they have chosen for themselves, because we all have a choice, right? So I have been having some thoughts around how there seems to be three people showing up, three archetypes, three types of people. One being a force multiplier, that person who is a change agent, who can walk into any room or be in any group dynamic and multiply the fruitfulness of that situation. Whatever that dynamic is that they enter, it's like that person who has the Midas touch, or that person who has high vibe energy, and they come in and whatever you're working on, they make it better. They bring some quality to the table. I am intentional about being one of them people, but it's also just what's in me. You know what I'm saying? It's like what they say, it ain't what's on you, it's what's in you. So in that way, I don't have to try hard to be a force multiplier, and sometimes I don't have to try at all, and it's effortless because it's in my cells, it's in my DNA. There's a saying that I've been drawn to in this chapter of my life, that God dwells in all of my cells. And so it's very much that energy of being a creator, of being a multiplier, of being a force multiplier. I first heard the term force multiplier listening to Carlos King. He was a producer on several shows, most famously, I believe, Real Housewives of Atlanta. And so he now has his own production company and produces shows like Love and Marriage Huntsville, recently Love and Marriage Birmingham, Love and Marriage DC. What's another Carlos King show? Bell Collective. And then he does his own thing down to his YouTube channel where he interviewing people and talking about different topics and whatnot. But Carlos uses the term force multiplier to describe those people on reality TV who come in and just make the scene. You know what I'm saying? Like when they're there, they're gonna bring the kick shit up a notch. You know what I'm saying? Like your Nene Leaks, or even your Portia Williams. Like regardless of how you feel about these people, K Michelle, regardless of how you feel about these people, when they're on the scene, when they get active, they active, right? And they're going to bring things, kick things up a notch, increase the value of the whatever is going on. In those terms, not necessarily increase the value, but they are definitely going to make shit more entertaining. And so viewing how people are fitting into these archetypes because of this timeline shift, like it's so obvious which of these three archetypes people are currently in. And sometimes you may see it shift depending upon the situation, but for the most part, like there's this dominant archetype that they're in. So you got your force multipliers, those people who, like me, like if I can't help you, I for damn sure ain't trying to hurt you, and if I hurt you, it's intentional. If I say this, I have the capacity to hurt a person and not be intentional, right? Because people's triggers are their triggers, and they're gonna take things how they take things, based on their experience. However, I'm one of them people that, like, especially without the Scorpio in my chart being an Aries Sun and an Aries Mercury, like, if I want to hurt you, if I want to cause you harm, if I want to say something and I give a fuck how you feel about it, I'm going to do that consciously. I'm going to do that intentionally. And so, in that way, I'm a force multiplier because for the most part, I'm trying to plant that seed that helps you, to grow, that helps you to multiply, that helps you to be fruitful, to help you to expand and grow, right? But then you have your fence riders. And your fence riders are those who, opposed to the force multiplier, who takes action, or if they don't take action, it's because they got a good ass reason not to, and it benefits the situation not to take action. The fence rider just refuse to make a decision. They refuse to get on either side of the fence. They refuse to take a stand. They refuse to express a definitive thought. They just there, people pleasing and trying to toe the line. They operate in fear, just our 919 that may be significant to someone. They don't commit to anything for fear of pissing people off or making the wrong decision, or they have a myriad of reasons why people can be fence riders, but fence riding doesn't benefit anybody. It is a waste of your time, energy, and resources to toe the line, especially in this day and age. But a lot of these fence riders are on the other side of the timeline. Those are those people who got left behind. Then you have your NPCs. I have made some notes on these, so I'm gonna share with y'all what's in the notes and what my research kind of revealed about this concept. But I'm sharing with you what my original thoughts on it have been up to this point. You got your NPCs, your non-playable characters, and these are the people. They're not riding the fence, but they choosing to drink the Kool-Aid. They choosing to be fed piss and believe that it's peach tea. They're choosing to abide by the bullshit, the laws, the illusion. They've bought into the illusion. They still chase the fool's gold. These are the sheep. You got your wolves, which are your force multipliers. And then you got your sheep, which are the non-playable characters. And they're sheep because they're easily led. They don't think for themselves. And when they do make a decision or a thought or a choice, it's influenced by some shepherd, something that's shepherding them. They're choosing to be led instead of being leaders, instead of being free thinkers. And we all know people like that, and these are also people who have been left behind. So you got the fence riders and the NPCs on one side of the timeline, on one side of the spectrum, and then you got your force multipliers making moves and building community and being of benefit and shining light on the other side of the timeline. And they all in the same environment, right? They all in the same bubble, but having a different experience because it's based on their level of consciousness. It's based on their level of consciousness, and their level of consciousness up to this point is based on how they processed their experience, the wisdom that they've taken from their experiences, the way they've allowed their experiences to change how they show up in the world on the day-to-day and in interaction with one another. It's determining whether or not you're a fence rider or you are an NPC, a non-playable character. I am going to read my notes and whatnot on this here situation and these archetypes. Force multipliers. These are individuals who amplify the effectiveness of everything they touch. In military terms, this is a tool like a GPS that makes a small unit as effective as a large one. In a social or business context, these are the leaders, expert communicators, the high energy people who make the whole team perform better. Their key vibe is to raise the vibration, to raise the tide, to elevate, to go further, to multiply instead of divide, should that be what benefits the whole. A force multiplier is a multiplier because they made sure they straight. Just saw 1111. So for those of you who see 1111 as an angel number, there may be significance to you. 1111 also represented a manifestation portal. So if you're a force multiplier, the prerequisite for that is making sure that you straight from a soul deep level, like making sure that you're honoring yourself and not self-abandoning, because that is how your cup runneth over. This is how you have and generate the energy that you can give to others. And being clear on what you value, being clear on your beliefs and values is also a prerequisite of being a force multiplier. And you can't do that if you are a fence rider, because don't none of that matter. You just don't want to piss nobody off, or you being lazy, because that's a thing when it comes to fence riding, to laziness. But yeah, the force multiplier moves the needle, wants to move forward and does the necessary, brings the energy to do so. And sometimes it's not even a matter of doing anything. It's just your being. You know what I'm saying? Just genuinely being who you are makes things better, brings a lighter vibe to the environment, to the group, to the family, to the team. Fence riders. These are the indecisive middle grounders. They wait for a clear winner before committing to a side. They often stall progress because they refuse to take a stance, effectively acting as friction in a group dynamic. The fence rider is that person that's stalling while y'all could be balling. That's that person that's gonna hold you back. That person gonna hold up progress, gonna keep things stagnant. When you got a fence rider on your team, like, you're at risk, you're vulnerable to things not succeeding. So you want to be mindful of those chronically wait and see as people who they lack faith, they lack confidence, they lack gumption to get moving or pick a side or make a decision. They're very disloyal. You want to be mindful of that as well. Everybody say they value loyalty, and then when it comes time to be loyal, they got 1,000,001 excuses as to why they don't stand on business about what they value. Again, if they value it, then they're gonna stand on business about it, and they're gonna honor that thing, and that is what makes you a force multiplier. But you can't do that if you are a fence rider, because you don't have value for value. You don't have value. Like, you have not even, you might say it, it may be in somewhat a performative way that you say you have values and you stand on business about what you value. You ask most people what they value, they can say, I value my family, I value loyalty, I value stability, but then they live a life that says otherwise. So you want to be mindful of that, and you want to be mindful of how you're interacting with fence riders, or it may be you. And especially if you got fence riders on your team and you got a goal, if you're intentional about how you're moving forward, be mindful of how they may be jeopardizing or convoluting the energy of your manifestation. The NPCs These are people who lack original thought or critical thinking in a situation. They follow the social script or mainstream narrative without question, acting as the background noise of a group rather than active participants. These are people who fall victim to groupthink. If everybody else jumping, they gonna jump too. If everybody else running, they gonna run too. They're going to follow the script, whatever has been laid out for them, instead of challenging the system. And as we are in this time, this era where Babylon is falling, and Babylon being systems and constructs that oppress, you got people who are following these constructs, following these systems, because they've been in place for so long and so deeply ingrained in us as a people, as a collective, but also because for some it benefits them. It benefits, patriarchy benefits some people. And so we need to be mindful of these people, as well as they are going to conform to whatever is popular. And they bought into it, and they refuse, no matter how much the light is being presented to them, how much the truth is being presented to them. They refused to change the narrative, to do their part to change the narrative, because they've bought into religion. They've bought into materialism and capitalism. They've bought into the patriarchy. They've bought into these things that keep us oppressed individually and collectively. And so they're not riding the fence. They've made a decision, but the decision that they've made is not beneficial to themselves or the collective. Ultimately, it's superficial, it's shallow. So just want to share that thought with you guys, that we're blatantly seeing 3 different archetypes show up with this timeline shift, and to be mindful of how it's showing up around or within you. You got your force multipliers, you got your fence riders, and you got your NPCs. Until next time, y'all. Peace.